kunja bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava kunja bihari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava kunja bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava kunja bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava kunja bihari. Jai Om Vishpad Paramahamsa Parivrajakachoya Ashtotra Shruta Shri Srimad Divine Grace Ace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 25, the characteristics of King Pranjana, and text 8. Ete tvam sampratikshante smaranto vaishasam tava samparetam ayakutaish chintantyuttaman yavaha. Ita tvam sampratikshante smaranto vaishasam tava samparyetam ayakutaish chintantyutta manyavaha. Ita tvam sampratikshante smaranto vaishasam tava samparetam ayakutaish chintantyutta What is it? Chindantyutitamanyava. All right, please chant. Ete, all of them. Tvam, you. Sampratikshante, are awaiting. Smarantaha, remembering. Vaishasam, injuries. Tava, of you. Samparetam, after your death. Ayaha, made of iron. Kutai, by the horns. Chindanti, pierce. Utita, enlivened. Manyavaha, anger. Translation. All these animals are awaiting your death so that they can avenge the injuries you have inflicted upon them. After you die, they will angrily pierce your body with iron horns. Purport. Narada Muni wanted to draw King Prachanibarhishat's attention to the excesses of killing animals and sacrifices. It is said in the Shastras that by killing animals in a sacrifice, one immediately promotes them to a human birth. Similarly, by killing their enemies on a battlefield, the Kshatriyas who fight for a right cause are elevated to the heavenly planets after death. In Manu Samhita, it is stated that it is necessary for a king to execute a murderer so that the murderer will not suffer for his criminal actions in his next life. On the basis of such understanding, Narada Muni warns the king that the animals killed in sacrifices by the king await him at his death in order to avenge themselves. Narada Muni is not contradicting himself here. Narada Muni wanted to convince the king that overindulgence in animal sacrifice is risky, because as soon as there is a small discrepancy in the execution of such a sacrifice, the slaughtered animal may not be promoted to a human form of life. Consequently, the person performing sacrifice will be responsible for the death of the animal, just as much as a murderer is responsible for killing another man. When animals are killed in a slaughterhouse, 6 people connected with the killing are responsible for the murder. The person who gives permission for the killing, the person who kills, the person who helps, the person who purchases the meat, the person who cooks the flesh, and the person who eats it, all become entangled in the killing. Narada Muni wanted to draw the king's attention to this fact. Thus, animal killing is not encouraged, even in a sacrifice. Om Gyanatavanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshudhanmaditam Yena Tasmai Shrigravedam Mukam Garivachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripadamaham Vande Shrigrun Diditaranam Vanchakapdivishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavne Bil Vaishnave Bio Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so I'll read the translation again. All these animals are awaiting your death so that they can avenge the injuries you have inflicted upon them. After you die, they will angrily pierce your body with iron horns. So the other day was the appearance or disappearance of Vamsidas Babaji, and probably all of you know, if not, probably all of you know, or you've heard, or most of you, that so in his Bhakti Vikas Swami wrote a book about Vamsidas Babaji, a little biography. He did some research on him, and so Maharaj was here years ago, and he was distributing that book. So I got that book, and I went up to him and went up with Tirtha Maharaj, who was his disciple, and he introduced me to Maharaj, and then I gave Bhakti Vikas Swami the book so he could sign it. So then, he got the book from me, and he was signing it, and then he looked at me and he said, you should become like him. And then I was kind of like, I was kind of surprised. And I was okay. And then he said, well, not externally, not externally, because if you've seen the picture of him, he's got his dreadlocks and the beard, and he's wearing a kopin or something. But he said not externally, but how he loved Krishna. Now, that's what he told me. Now, I've read that book, and it's a little, that instruction a little challenging, because how he loved Krishna was very unique, how he expressed his affection for Krishna. Namely, like, for example, one time he left his little bhajan kutir, and somehow some things got stolen, and he came back, and he blamed his deities. Why did you let this happen, Gauranitai? I put you in trust of the house, and why do you let this happen? And he said, now I'm not going to feed you. So that was his relationship. So like chastising his deities. Now, of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur recognized this person, Vamsidas Babaji, as a God-realized, self-realized soul. And of course, you can't imitate such things, but still, I was wondering, okay, a lot of his Vamsidas Babaji's pastimes are like that. And then Bhakti Vikas Swami was saying, oh yeah, you should love Krishna like he loves Krishna. Okay, well, how do I figure that out? So I'm still working on figuring that out. But one thing I thought of was that when he was doing his service to his deities, he was just fixed. He was just really in he was in, of course he was in samadhi all the time, but he was really fixed. Like his mind, like everything was just fixed on his deities and serving them in his own hard to understand, unique transcendental way. But he was really fixed. So I thought that that's something I could try to learn how to do. That's something that everybody could try to learn how to do, that while they're doing their services to the deities, whatever it may be, or to Krishna, whatever that service may be, to have that focus like he did. Very important. Of course, in order to have that, you have to have some affection for Krishna. We have to have some love or some affection for Krishna. So that's the challenge. But so anyways, I thought I'd just mention that because it was his disappearance day, I think, on Thursday. So, all right. So in relation to this particular verse and purport, as we are hearing from the great Saint Narada Muni, that those who engage in violence towards animals, specifically he's talking about here, then there's some heavy reactions. And here he's telling King Prachinibarhishat that after you die, this is what's going to happen. These animals are going to appear, and they're going to angrily pierce your body with iron horns. So it wasn't just like ordinary horns, but he said iron horns. So somehow or other the animals get these iron horns. So you could imagine, such a grave personality as Narada Muni telling, if he was to tell us this, or he's telling King Prachinibarhishat, probably got a little, frightened from that, I would think. And we'll hear more about that. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada and all the followers of Srila Prabhupada, and it's not just animal killing, it's all the regulative principles. There's heavy reactions, illicit sex, there's a heavy reaction, intoxication, gambling, meat eating, these are all, there's heavy reactions actually. And specifically it says that in the Bhagavatam, which we're coming up to soon, 5th canto, it says that there's hellish regions where people could go and they have to suffer for engaging in these particular activities. Anyways, they have a saying, at least men, I don't know, at least in the modern world of men, they have a saying about attractive women. There's so many ways to describe attractive women. Modern men describe attractive women in so many ways. But one of the ways they describe them, they say, "Oh, they're very hot." They're very hot. H-O-T, hot. I don't know what they say in Bengal, but maybe you don't know either. Ramapati, but you're too pious to know things like that. But I was thinking about that, and in the 5th canto, it also explains that there's hot women in hell too, and namely, or specifically, if one breaks the codes of legitimate sex or illicit sex, then they'll experience hot women here, and then also they'll go to the hellish regions, also experience some hot women in terms of embracing.
You have to explain for those who don't understand. What is that hot woman?
It's a reaction.
What is the actual? They're embracing.
Yeah.
Metal.
Yes. Molten iron. Well, I guess it wasn't. Maybe I kind of breezed over. I didn't really, but I didn't fully grasp. Was it was it a woman, or was it an iron hot woman? What exactly was it? Because I saw the BBT paintings. Okay, you want to pass the mic then, since we're getting into this, I guess. Sorry, but.
Oh, well, keep going until I find it.
Okay. So yeah, there's reactions. There's if one breaks the laws of nature, one breaks the laws of Krishna, there's reactions. They have to suffer. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he took the trouble, came to America, went all over the world, spread Krishna consciousness, and he accepted so many disciples, right, from all over the world, from all different types of backgrounds. And he was educating people that, please stop doing this. Okay, there's some temporary pleasure in these things. There's temporary pleasure in illicit sex, in meat eating, intoxication, in gambling. You would say that, yes, it's tamasic, it's rajasic by nature. Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Oh, man or woman. Srimad Bhagavatam 5:26-20. A man or woman who indulges in sexual intercourse with an unworthy member of the opposite sex is punished after death by the assistance of Yamaraj in the hell known as Tapta Surmi. There such men and women are beaten with whips. The man is forced to embrace a red-hot iron form of a woman, and the woman is forced to embrace a similar form of a man. Such is the punishment for illicit sex.
Okay, there you go. Clear. Yeah. One devotee actually, I think I don't know if he's in L.A. or I forgot who it was, but Tirthamaj was telling me, but he said he saw in this devotee's office, because there's some really graphic pictures in the 5th canto that devotees painted, of hell and what goes on there. So this devotee would keep it in his office, so when he would start, you'd kind of look, oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, there's heavy reactions for these things. And, yeah, although there's some temporary pleasure, we would say that, yeah, it's rajasic, tamasic by nature. It means it's not sattvic, it's not there's nothing really good about it. There's no, underlying goodness or wholesomeness to it. It's just sinful. So therefore, Prabhupada would say, give it up, give it up, give it up. And although that was the case, and many people did, sometimes devotees struggle with some of these different principles, and they find it challenging to follow. And of course, there could be so many reasons why that is. Maybe offenses towards Vaishnavas, or this or that. So many different reasons why some of these things could creep up, but sometimes they do. These desires to engage in these things again, and again, and again, and again, and again. So then devotees will ask the question: okay, well, how am I supposed to get free from these desires to engage in these sinful activities? I know they're not good for me. I understand that, at least theoretically. So how do I give it up? How do I give up these desires? And there's so many ways to look at it, so many angles of vision. But one idea is that we should engage very seriously and sincerely in the process of bhakti, and that will eradicate all these things, right? Vishya vinivartante nirahasidenaha rasavajam rasopyasa param dushtva nivartate. So by engaging in Krishna consciousness, one's able to have a higher taste, by which these things don't bother them so much. But then someone says, well, I'm having a hard time engaging in Krishna consciousness, so then what do? I'm having a hard time taking to the process of bhakti, getting really serious about it. In other words, I'm not feeling the heat of Krishna consciousness, just like Prabhupada would say about the iron rod. You put an iron rod in fire, it's going to get hot, and then it's going to act like fire. It will burn something. So someone say, oh, I'm not feeling that heat. I'm not feeling fired up. So then then the answer is like, okay, we'll get closer to the fire, or put yourself in the fire and you'll warm up. But some people, they can't do that. They can't put themselves in the fire of devotional service. So then, okay, then what's the answer? Of course, there's many ways of looking at it, but there's easy ways to learn and there's hard ways to learn. And sometimes a hard way is to learn is that if we can't take to the process of devotional service directly and really enter that fire of devotional service, then we will be, you could say, pushed or kicked around by the material nature. And by doing that and repeatedly struggling, suffering, then some more, you could say, interest and taken into the process of Krishna consciousness hopefully will manifest. Even then, sometimes it doesn't manifest, which is very sad. So that's the idea, or one angle of vision, how to see it. So King Prachani Barishak, luckily he has the association of Narada Muni, who's such an empowered personality who can really transform people, just like Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's followers are. So again, this is the sure way to success, this sadhu sangha, or associating with devotees. This is how we actually are able to be successful. Now, another thing to consider in relation to this is that it's a little tricky because there are certain things that are allowed within Krishna consciousness or within religious life, and sometimes it's hard to balance that. For example, it's like they have a saying, right? You give someone an inch, they take a mile, right? So sometimes in dealing with the material energy, as sometimes we have to do to engage in Krishna service, it's a little tricky because material energy is very strong, and you give an inch and they take a mile. It means that we sometimes may not be able to engage it as purely as we should, whatever may be money, this and that. And there's different, you could say, examples in relation to this. Like Srila Prabhupada, for example, he, on a couple of occasions, not very many that I know of, Prabhupada accepted 7-Up, the soda drink, 7-Up. And he was once on a plane, he accepted a little glass, and then somewhere else, I don't know, he's in Europe somewhere, he accepted another can of 7-Up, and then... Yes. Yeah. Settled, upset stomach helps digest. So, but as far as I've read, it wasn't a regular thing that continued on and on and on. I mean, yeah, I didn't have a case with, he didn't tell his servant, hey, carry a case of 7-Up. It was, But, devotees seeing this, hey, well, Prabhupada's having 7-Up, so, we should also have 7-Up. And I read in Shrutakirti Prabhu's book, What's the Difficulty, that they went to one temple, I forgot where it was, but they had a lot of 7-Up, cases of 7-Up, and, devotees were, Chicago and Detroit, drinking 7-Up. So, this is like, they kind of you could say sometimes things are taken out of context. Just like there's a saying, says that if the guru pees while standing up, the disciple will pee while walking. So it means that if the guru does something, right, that maybe ordinarily he wouldn't do for some particular purpose at that particular time, and it's not like breaking Vedic conjunctions or something. It's for preaching or something like that. Then disciples will, oh well, our Guru Maharaj did this, so let's kind of take it a little further. And that could be a little dangerous because sometimes, just like with these animal sacrifices, it's very dangerous. I mean, this is in Scripture that, okay, you perform these animal sacrifices, you give the animals a human birth, and everything's fine. You know, it works out for you, works out for the animals. Everybody's happy, right? But that's not exactly the case. There's a little mistake in the chanting of the mantras. There's something goes wrong, and this is what happens. You know, in the next life, animals are coming with iron horns, piercing. That's very scary. You know, just for some mistakes. So this is the nature of these things, that it's a little tricky. You know, how to deal with these different things, and a lot of the times people mess it up. I mean, that's just the fact. Like, it got really messed up, this animal sacrifice. It got so distorted that Krishna had to come as Lord Buddha. He came as Lord Buddha to stop it. To tell everybody, stop this fire, saying, follow me, and like that. So, and this didn't like overnight happen. It wasn't like, okay, they're performing all these fire sacrifice, or they're performing these animal sacrifices, then all of a sudden, everybody started having barbecues. It was not like it started immediately, but it was gradually crept in, or crept in, yeah. Gradually crept in this, Suresh, this. So it doesn't happen overnight. So devotees can become demons. And that doesn't happen overnight. And, thankfully, demons could also become devotees. And that doesn't happen overnight. It's gradually, gradual. Just like we have this story of not Dravida, Prabhu, but Dvavida, right? Oh, excuse me. What? Dvavida. Okay. Something like that, yeah. In the Krishna book, or in the 10th canto. And he was a big demon. he was an ape, big demon. And what was he doing? He was harassing Balarama and his gopis at whatever that mount, or that queen, or was it gopis or queens? Queens, yeah. Ladies, yeah. Young ladies. I forgot what hill. Yeah, Raivata Hill. So he was harassing them. He was, making all types of faces and, exposing himself on and on and on. And eventually Balarama got upset. He tolerated it for a while. And then there was this big fight, which they were pulling up trees and boulders, and, this big fight. Eventually killed him. But it explains that this gorilla, this Asura, he was actually a great devotee at one point. He was a devotee associate of Lord Ram, Chandra. And due to some mistakes, he ended up in this situation. Now, of course, it's a special situation on one hand. You're fighting with Lord Balaram, but still, he became like that. And but it didn't happen like overnight. It was, gradually that happened. And similarly, when people become devotees, a lot of the times it's gradually, they gradually become devotees. So, so this is why it is necessary to have a spiritual master, to have a guru, or to have gurus, shiksha gurus, diksha gurus, who are fixed in transcendence, fixed in spiritual knowledge, fixed in Krishna consciousness. Why? Because they, when things, when we start going off course, start kind of like deviating, going off the golden road, right? Then they could say, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing there? Come back. That's not the right way. That's problematic, troublesome. So therefore, one should have shiksha gurus and diksha gurus, so they could do that. Not that one should be solo, flying solo. You fly solo and, yeah, you crash. You're going to get, machine guns of Maya are going to, shoot us down solo. So, therefore, we have International Society for Krishna Consciousness. There we have association with sadhus, saintly persons, devotees. We have our gurus. And in this way, by taking their advice, by taking their instruction, we can know what is right and what is wrong. Because although generally it is easy, or fairly easy or simple to understand what is right and what is wrong, like but sometimes there's certain subtleties that kind of subtle things that it's difficult. Is this right or this wrong? Should I go this way or should I go that way? It's not exactly clear all the time. Just like with this Prachani Barishat, he thought he was doing a good thing. It's in the Vedas, animal sacrifices, human bodies, right? But Narada Muni said, "Hey, wait a second. You're going off. You're not doing it properly. You're becoming. You're going to have to suffer if you continue like this." And therefore, the guru, the spiritual master, the gurus, the spiritual masters, they are our guiding lights out of the, you could say, forest of illusion. Because another reason is that they're beyond this cheating mentality. It's not like they're not in it for anything else besides to help us. That's what it means to be guru. And this is Narada Muni. He didn't have to come and deliver Prachani Barishat, but he came out of his mercy to deliver him. Because, isn't it Prachani Barishat, he's a descendant of Dhruva Maharaj? Is it? I think he's a descendant of Dhruva Maharaj. I think we were reading that recently. And Narada Muni, he was feeling, we were talking the other day, he was feeling great compassion for Prachani Barishat. One reason being is because he was a descendant of Dhruva Maharaj. So he's saying, I have to come and save this person. So that's there too. Just like, for example, there was this one disciple, and his guru told him that you should read the Bhagavad Gita every day. So then the disciple said, "Okay, I'll read every day." So he got the Bhagavad Gita, and he was reading every day. But then there was a rat was coming and chewing on his Bhagavad Gita. He said, "Okay, I have to solve this problem." So then he got a cat, right? So the cat was taking care of the rat. But then you need some milk for the cat. So he got a cow. So the cow is now providing the milk for the cat. So, and he's reading his Bhagavad Gita the whole time. Great, right? He's a simple brahmachari, reading his Bhagavad Gita, but now he has a cat and he has a cow. But then he was thinking, well, I need some help taking care of this cow. So let me get a wife. So he got a wife. So now he has a wife, and he has a cow, he has a cat, right? And then naturally, has children and built up his family, this and that. And then his guru came back around in town, and he wanted to see his simple brahmachari disciple reading his Bhagavad Gita. And he came back, and he's, "Oh, where's so and so?" And, "Oh yeah, he's over there, Maharaj." And then he goes over there, and he sees him, and, "Oh, that doesn't look like." Wait a second. He goes up and he sees him, and he goes, "Oh, what happened to you?" He said, "Well, Guru Maharaj, you told me to read the Bhagavad Gita, so there's a rat, chewing my Bhagavad Gita, so I had to get a cat, and then, take care of the rat, and then I had to get a cow, and then, a wife, and now I have all these children, and I was all doing this for you, Guru Maharaj, I was just trying to follow your instruction, read the Bhagavad Gita." So, I hope you're pleased with me, Jai Gurudev. And, that wasn't the intention. He was just saying, be a simple brahmachari and, read the Bhagavad Gita. But from this, all these different ideas came. And, you could say it wasn't clear to him what to do, So, generally, for example, if one wants to marry, then that's a serious thing, actually. Sometimes I get it. I get all types of, being a brahmachari for some years. Yeah, anyone who's been a brahmachari for some years, they have people come. "Oh, hey," kind of like it's like light conversation, like after like when you're having prasadam or something. "Oh, hey, when are you going to take sannyas?" Like it's a light thing or something. Yeah, I've met him like for 5 minutes. "Oh, when are you going to take sannyas?"
I thought that we said they were arranging for a marriage.
Oh no, I never had anybody say that. But they say sometimes, oh yeah, hey, when are you going to get married? Like, what, when are you? Like, it's a light thing, but it's actually not a light thing at all. It's actually like very serious, marriage, and all these things are serious. I mean, that does happen though too. Sometimes you have a devotee or a woman or man come up to you, oh yeah, hey, so-and-so is thinking of, they want to marry you. Sometimes that happens as well. Like it's a light thing. Anyways, but yeah, it is very serious. And for example, this man, this brahmachari, simple brahmachari reading his Gita, he didn't get the permission of his spiritual master to marry, but he did. He didn't get his permission of his spiritual master to get a cat or a cow or a wife or all this stuff, but he should have. That's the thing. So it's a serious thing that one needs to consult with one's, gurus about these types of things. So, all right, does anybody have any questions or comments or anything? Okay. Bajranayan Swami.
And not to break the mood of the class, but I wanted
maybe you should break the mood of the class.
No, it was a very nice class. I wanted to introduce Vaikuntha Prabhu and Janavi Devi, who were devotees here in SanDiego long, long time ago. Now we're sitting in this beautiful building. We have, so many things. But they went out for decades on Sankirtan, selling paintings, so many hard work. And that money went to pay off this building and maintain the temple and worship the deities. So we are benefiting from their years of hard work. So we should be very grateful and offer them our respects. There's a lot of hard work for years. Made devotees, so many things. So we do, sometimes we only have a snapshot of, okay, I'm here now and this is the history of the temple. But we should remember that all of this is the fruit of hard work, surrender by many, many, many devotees. So we should always be grateful for that. So we should be grateful for their years of service. Hare Krishna. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I was thinking, just as a comment, you were saying how because the animal slaughter was so horrible that Buddha had to come. That Krishna intervened. He said, stop it. I was thinking this factory farming is so horrible. It's just monstrous. Krishna sends COVID,
Yeah. I think he has...
please.
Thank you, Balaram, for a wonderful class, and Bajranayan Raj for your kind words. You were bringing up, you were pointing out how gradually things can improve or decline, and how careful one has to be with Guru Shastra and Sadhu. And it kind of reminded me, some months back, and I guess it's been there more than once, but Manaram Prabhu had a thread on social media regarding, like as the movement's expanding and the appreciation for kirtan is becoming more widespread in secular society, and devotees, some devotees get Lakshmi from beautifully performing kirtan. And sometimes there's been some discussion because it's an area where we have to be very careful because of the profit motive, not to creep in and, sort of create that. And I remember in the midst of reading, some of that, it's someone brought up the point, I think it was Manaram Prabhu, that things can drift. Like, it looks good, but then, over time. And then I was thinking how when was it 25,000 or some large amount was offered to a police chief to look the other way when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would have been assassinated. And frankly, that was being offered by people who are probably descendants of great devotees of Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda, isn't it? Like these families go way, way back. But somehow over time, the profit motive had clouded their vision to the point where they were, he was going to move the Yogapith in there, or he was, taking away their Lakshmi. So
yeah,
it's just interesting. Just when you said that about how devotees can become demons, and it's just interesting how over time, hundreds of years or whatever, things really can take on very sinister connotations.
Yeah, it's a little challenging sometimes, to kind of where to draw the line and kind of, the purity of it, like Prabhupada would say all the Prabhupada would say sometimes, like in that book, Servant of the Servant by Tamal Krishna Goswami, Prabhupada said, because devotees were being, they're being invited by some, I don't know, Hollywood guy, and to kind of like perform, at some parties as like musicians, and eventually Prabhupada just stopped it. He said, "Oh, we're not like performers, we're do kirtan for Krishna's pleasure." So he stopped it because there's something strange about it, So yeah, it could be a little challenging, and that's why like Prabhupada, right? The purity is the force. Purity is the force. So if someone remains pure by, like, seriously, and specifically I'm thinking, because sometimes in the kirtan crowds, there's tendencies of doing kirtan but not doing japa, So, but if one does japa, serious japa, then they'll have, first of all, the kirtan will be better, a lot better, because that purity is there. And then if some type of, you could say, material facilities are coming to them, because also by nature, like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in that, he makes a point that while one engages in devotional service, there may be some material facilities that comes to them by engaging in it, in devotional service. Just naturally, people want to help, people want to offer things, and so while that may come, it's not like evil. Just like Prabhupada said about himself, Krishna, like a news reporter asked Prabhupada, "How is your society being supported?" And Prabhupada said, "Oh, Krishna supports us. Krishna maintains us." And then the man said, "Oh, well, what do you mean by that?" And Prabhupada said, "Well, Krishna's in the heart of all living entities, so he's in your heart. And if Krishna dictates, oh, please give this man, give me $3,000 check, you'll do it." That's what he was saying. And he said, just like yesterday, Mr. So-and-so, I forgot his name, but he said, he gave me a $3,000 check, Prabhupada was saying. He said, I didn't ask him for it, he just gave it to me, So naturally things may come, but because Prabhupada had the purity, and because devotees who take to the process seriously have the purity, it's not a problem. They take that and they use it for Krishna service. So that's the purity, yeah. All right, Javada Prabhu.
Perfect segue. You were mentioning earlier how someone may not be able to take fully to the process, but they're interested in Krishna consciousness. Krishna deals with that. In 12th chapter, text 10. If you cannot practice the regulations of bhakti yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. And Prabhupada exactly talks about the idea of getting donations. And Krishna is working from within for purification, then you come to the point of, I think I should chant japa. It's all coming that way. So that very subject, if you can't do this, do that. It's in the 12th chapter.
Yeah.
And if I could take 5 seconds, when you offer the Guru Puja, now we're not giving the flowers out, but we tend to offer them to the devotees and then put them in Prabhupada's. No, once you offer it to the devotees, you can't put it on Prabhupada's feet. So just you can take one off and put the ones to Prabhupada, and then offer that one to the devotees and put it there. Once you offer the devotees, you can't put it.
All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki